Yes, dear children. Slowly we are modifying the equation of photosynthesis. First, I simply wrote carbon dioxide and water is used in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Food is prepared, yes, we know this thing very well. And additionally, oxygen and water is also released. What is the food prepared? Previously, we studied in the standards as food is prepared in photosynthesis. What is the food prepared? A type of food called carbohydrate. Which type of carbohydrate is prepared? Glucose, nothing but called glucose C6H12O6. Slowly the equation is modifying. While modifying an equation, we need to identify whether it is balanced or not. So that's why I gave a title called modified or balanced equation for photosynthesis. What is the, yes, equation is being modified. Which food is prepared? Glucose is prepared. Is it balanced? What is balanced? The compounds present in reactants, these are called reactants and these are called products. The compounds in reactants and the products must be balanced because the materials which are entering in reaction should form in reaction but in a different way. That is called a balanced equation. See, for example, carbon dioxide, only one carbon dioxide is there, CO2. How many carbon dioxides? I think you know well in chemistry. If you see, observe CO2, carbon dioxide, how many carbons are there? One single carbon, how many oxygens? 2 oxygens, combinedly called carbon dioxide. H2O, 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. But these are not balanced. Here only 1 carbon is participating in reaction. In product, how many carbons? 6 carbons. How it is possible? So the equation must be balanced. It is not a balanced equation. It is modifying but not balanced. So the scientists gave the balanced equation as 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives rise in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. I am writing this all reactants and products as it is, but their number is changing to balance it. Here carbon dioxide, CO2 and water. In the presence of light, there is no change in the materials participating, but they are balancing here. Carbon dioxide is participating. Yes or no? Carbon dioxide is participating. Water is participating. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, food is prepared called glucose, and oxygen and water are coming as additional products. Every material is same, but I am balancing with its change in numbers. So this is called balanced. If you check the carbons amount, hydrogens amount, oxygen amounts will be balanced in both these reactants and the products. That's why this is called as a balanced equation or modified equations. We will get 2 equations in our textbook, dear children. I already sent you some pages of images to you. In that we can see balanced or basic equation of photosynthesis as CO2 plus H2O, sunlight and light. CH2O is there in that balanced, basic equation. What is CH2O? Carbohydrate, simple carbohydrate is there. But what is the carbohydrate we gave in this modified equation as glucose? As it is modified, it should be balanced. That's why it is called balanced or modified equation. In notes, I am going to send you what is balanced equation and what is modified. What is modified and balanced equation and what is a simple and basic equation of photosynthesis. So this was first given by a scientist called C.B. Van Niel. One more question I am asking you from the discussed things. How many years took place for scientists to formulate this equation? 200 years. So let us know about C.B. Van Niel once again, for some more things to know more about him. C.B. Van Niel is a scientist who studied about writing the formula for photosynthesis. While he is doing his experiment, he done experiments on a material called purple sulfur bacteria. Purple sulfur bacteria. You know very well about bacteria. There are some bacteria which are which can do photosynthesis. I told you already while giving examples of autotrophs. Autotrophs are self-food preparing organisms. Example, plants, mainly plants, and also additionally some bacteria. Here one bacteria came. This is a bacteria on which the scientist called C.B. Van Niel did his experiments. So again a question to you. What is experiment material of CB vanillin? Purple sulfur bacteria. In additional studies, not there in our 10th class, purple and green sulfur bacteria you will study in the further classes if you go to the advanced levels. But up to our 10th class it is there as purple sulfur bacteria. Understand, dear children? So two questions related to experiment materials here, dear children. What is experiment material of von Helmont? What you studied previously? Willow plant. So what is experiment material of CB vanillin? Purple sulfur bacteria. What is this purple sulfur bacteria? It is a kind of photosynthetic bacteria which can prepare its own food by depending on sunlight like plants, but it takes hydrogen sulfide, sulfur compounds instead of water. Generally, plants are taking water, is it or not? Plants are taking water, but this sulfur bacteria doesn't depend on water, it depends on sulfur compounds like H2S. You can see in that equation. Understand, dear children? So, the experiment material of CB vanillin, listen it carefully. CB vanillin did his experiments about photosynthesis on which experiment material? Called purple sulfur bacteria. What is a kind of purple sulfur bacteria? Just like plant, it uses sunlight, but instead of water, other than water, it uses hydrogen sulfide. As it uses water, generally when water is used, what is released out in the case of photosynthesis? Oxygen is released. Understand, dear children? When plants use water, they release which gas? Oxygen gas. But here in CB vanillin experiment, he is using purple sulfur bacteria which is not using water. Because it is a sulfur bacteria, sulfur using bacteria, sulfur compounds using bacteria. It uses other products as it is. It uses CO2, it uses sunlight and chlorophyll, everything. So instead of water, it is using H2S, hydrogen sulfide. So which gas it releases? It releases a kind of gas called sulfur. So it is an additional product. As water is used in plants, so oxygen is released out. As H2S is used in purple sulfur bacteria, sulfur gas released out. Let me tell you in the bit form. What is experiment material of CB vanillin? Purple sulfur bacteria. Purple sulfur bacteria, while doing photosynthesis, they use which material? While doing they are doing photosynthesis. Purple sulfur bacteria, while doing photosynthesis, which material they use? Instead of water, they use a material called H2S, hydrogen sulfide. As purple sulfur bacteria use H2S instead of water, which gas it releases? Sulfur gas it releases instead of oxygen gas released in plants where they use water. So here the thing is, when water is used, oxygen is released from the water. Don't think, dear children, oxygen which is released in photosynthesis is released from CO2. It is a wrong one. Oxygen which is released in photosynthesis was released from water molecule. That's why it happened here. When we observe this equation once again in purple sulfur bacteria here, you can observe this. In the case of purple sulfur bacteria, generally plant use water, but purple sulfur using bacteria uses H2S. Instead of water, it used hydrogen sulfide. As it used hydrogen sulfide instead of water, it releases sulfur gas instead of oxygen gas. So my question is, the oxygen which is released, the gas oxygen which is released in photosynthesis was released by dividing water molecule. Here H2S is divided to give sulfur, here H2O is divided to give oxygen here. So this important thing called oxygen is released in photosynthesis from where it released? From water molecule. So oxygen is released in photosynthesis from water molecule. was given by a scientist called Robert Hill. One more important scientist. So Von Helmont completed, C.B. Van Niel we discussed just now, and now come to Robert Hill. Let me finish with some bits. We will continue in the next session to this. Who concluded that the oxygen which is released in photosynthesis is from water molecule? The scientist called Robert Hill. So Robert Hill proved that oxygen is released in photosynthesis from water molecule. So please note down the notes properly, children, and read these textbook pages, and if you have any doubts still, please ask. Thank you.